In today's McMedia report, I want to commend Disney for doing something right for a change when it comes to the world of streaming. For so long since streaming has been invented, what the giant media companies have assumed was that streaming was the ultimate future and that you were either going to see events on streaming or on regular TV. And what Disney, after years of owning Disney Plus, ESPN Plus, BAM, and several other streamers, they've finally figured it out that some people want to watch TV the way they always have, with some really shitty cable box that always happens to work, or people want to watch on streaming. Think about it. The person who is 30 years of age or younger, do you think they're ever going to have a cable subscription? Unless that is their only option for internet, the answer is no. They're never going to get a cable box. They're never going to get that silver Motorola piece of shit and plug it into their television. At the same time, if you think about the person who is 75 or older, they are so used to having that cable box, that remote where you type in channel numbers, and scrolling through channels. They are never going to go over to streaming. And it has been so frustrating for people who are very competent at both or either to be forced to go to one or the other because that's the way the deals have been made. If you think about when ESPN Plus first came out, and then when Disney re-upped their Monday Night Football contract to expand it so that way ABC is included more, and they're going to get a Super Bowl, what did they do? They put one exclusive streaming game for the NFL every year on ESPN Plus. Every year. So you were forced, if you wanted to see that game, to go over to ESPN Plus. If you were streaming only, you're like, finally, I get an NFL game, except it happens to be shitty. And if you're someone who pays $200 a month for cable, you're like, well, fuck. Now I have to go spend $7.99 for the month, cancel at the end of the month if I really want to see this game. It did a disservice to fans. You're seeing it with Peacock. Peacock still has streaming exclusives. You're seeing it with Paramount Plus. Now, what Disney has finally figured out is that there are linear channels. These linear channels include ABC, ESPN, ESPN2, ESPNU, ESPN News. I think there might be one more in there. I don't know. Oh, ACC Network, SEC Network. Anyway, what they've finally figured out is that most people who enjoy cable are going to continue to enjoy cable, and that there is a subset of the audience out there who will never, ever touch a cable subscription. Why not put all of the shit that we have access to on both platforms? Holy shit, this took them this long to figure out that this is what consumers actually want. Now, what they've also figured out is when you have linear channels, there is a finite amount of room to place all of the events. So it makes sense that the lower level events are going to end up as streaming only. So I give an example. Sorry, I just saw an alert come through, and this is why you have to turn alerts off when you're recording. For example, I love the US Open. I love watching the early round matches that aren't televised because you end up seeing some of the biggest names early on the outside courts that don't make it to the main broadcast. It totally makes sense that ESPN and ESPN2 are going to carry probably the number one men's seed and the number one women's seed, alternating back and forth, or at least showing the Americans or the biggest names. Makes sense to have that on linear when that is your choice. But then we take everything else that you've bought the rights to and you've put it on streaming. And now, whether you open up the ESPN app and subscribe directly, or if you have a cable subscription and you can log directly into the ESPN app, you have access to everything. Thank you, Bob Iger. You finally figured out what people have been waiting for. So now, isn't it Brian Roberts over at Comcast over NBC and Peacock. Eliminate the Peacock exclusives, especially for the biggest shit. Nobody wants an NFL game exclusively on Peacock. The only reason that Amazon can get away with it is because they have a package of 18 games a year. Pretty sure it's 18, might be 17, but whatever. They don't have the first week, they don't have the last week, but they do have a playoff game. So that's 18, 16, 17. They have 17 games a year. So it makes sense to have Amazon Prime as a streaming exclusive. I would argue that they should find a broadcast partner so that way if you are a streaming never-er, then you have access to it on regular television. Be that as it may, I think the Amazon Prime example is an exception. What frustrates me, though, for big events like the NBA and the NFL, they are finding reasons to make things Peacock exclusive. Think about what's coming up with the NBA deal. A big reason that they got the NBA deal over at NBC is because they can grow things on Peacock and shove shit exclusively on Peacock. The NBA is a mass appeal sport. You should be able to get it on that NBC new sports network that's coming out. Shit, put it on Bravo. And you also have the NBC broadcast network. Now, what I do believe is going to happen is we saw that there was an announcement that NBC is going to create a new NBC Sports cable channel. I think they're coming to the conclusion that, oh, wait a minute. If we want to reach people, we put it on regular TV and on streaming. Oh my God! We finally figured it out. So anyway, that's my rant today. Thank you, Bob Iger, for catching up with what your consumers have been telling you. Stop making things exclusive, put it everywhere, and it makes your viewers so much happier. That's your McMedia report today.